If you've not had the experience of using an enum before, an enum is a typed finite list of options. Using them makes for a cleaner code base, it makes for a more developer-friendly APIs, and it makes for considerably more readable switch statements. Let's have a look and see how we can use them in TypeScript. To start with, let's have a look at this enum which has been declared in TypeScript. On the first line, we have the name of the enum, which is coffee type. And then on the subsequent lines, we have the options that we want our coffee type to have. So let's take a closer look at enums in TypeScript. We declare enums in TypeScript a little bit differently to how we would usually declare, say, a constant or a variable. We indicate that we want to create an enum by starting with the word enum followed by the name of our enum. Next, we separate the options that we want our enum to have, separated by a comma. To use our enum, we can then declare a constant and assign it to one of the enum's options by using the dot notation. So in this example, we've assigned a constant called myFavoriteCoffeeType to the option Americano on our coffee type enum. We can then use our value in the same way we would use any other value. Here's an example where we assign a boolean by comparing our value to one of the enum's options. And here's a more complex example demonstrating how we can use enums within a switch statement. As you can see, this is much more readable and way more versatile than just using basic string comparisons. So that covers the basics of enums in TypeScript. Let's take a look at a more detailed example over in the editor. Okay, so in this exercise, we're going to be writing a few basic enums and then just doing a little bit of work with them. So as always, as this is a new topic, I'm going to go ahead and create myself a new file. And this time I'm going to call it enums.ts. I'm going to save that in the src folder and I'm just going to hit save. Next up, I want to be watching our code for errors. So I'm just going to hit Command and J and then run yarn tsc-w to watch our code. And like always, because I don't want ESLint to be flagging up errors that I'm not too concerned about at this point, I'm just going to disable ESLint. Okay, so let's declare ourselves an enum. Let's specify some options on that enum, and then let's do some work with them. So first of all, I'm going to declare our enum by using the TypeScript keyword enum, followed by the name of our enum. In this case, I want it to be the element types. And then I'm just going to open a curly bracket. Next up, there are 4 element types, so let's name them. Let's do earth, wind, fire, and water. All 4 of those values have been separated by commas. Let's assign one of these enum values to a constant. So I'm going to go my favorite element type. I'm going to explicitly declare the type as element type. And I'm going to pick my favorite element type, which is going to be probably fire. Okay, so just a quick recap on what we just did. We declared ourselves a new constant. We called it my favorite element type. We explicitly stipulated that we wanted this value to be of the enum element type that we just wrote in the above lines. And then we assigned it to element type fire. We could change this to any of the element types. So I could change this to wind, or we could change it to earth, or I could even change it to water. But fire is my favorite, so I'm going to keep it as fire. Next up, let's just do a very, very basic comparison with this. So I'm going to create a new value, and this is going to be called is water my favorite element type. I'll explicitly declare this as a boolean. And I'm going to go my favorite element type, my favorite element type equals element type dot water. Okay, so as we can see, TypeScript is actually flagging an error here. Let's have a look at it. So if we have a look at the error in the terminal, it says this condition will always return false since the types element type fire and element type water have no overlap. If we go to line 10, we can see that we've assigned our constant to element type fire. Now, because constants are immutable, that means that my favorite element type will never change from being fire. So what TypeScript is essentially saying here is that there is no way that my favorite element type could ever be water because it can never be changed from fire. So let's make it possible that we could in theory change our element type from fire to water. And the way that we could do that is by changing our constant into a variable. Okay, so let's go over to line 10 and change this constant to a let. Then let's change my favorite element type to element type.water. Now, because there is a possibility for my favorite element type to be fire or water, the TypeScript compiler is satisfied and we don't have the error anymore. Another cool thing that you can do with options on an enum is associate values to them. The way that we can associate a value to one of our enum options is by just going to the enum option that we want to associate a value to, hitting equals straight after it, and then just typing the value that we want this to be associated with. So here I want the element types to have colors associated to them. So for earth, I'm going to say brown. For wind, I'm going to say gray. For fire, I'm going to say red. And for water, I'm going to say blue. Now that each option has a value associated with it, we can actually just go ahead and use that value in place of the enum option. So to demonstrate how this works, I'm going to declare a new value. I'm going to call it my favorite color. And I'm going to say that my favorite color is blue. Next, I'm going to write a switch statement and pass in my favorite color. And then I'm going to use the element type options as my cases. So let's go case element type.water. I will console log water matches my favorite color and then break. But if it's not water, then I will log to the console, this element type does not match my favorite color, and break. And that about wraps up our exercise with enums. We've declared ourselves a new enum, we've associated a value to it, and we've done a little bit of work with comparisons and switch statements with the enum. Thanks again for watching. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next video.